I mean, it's not just about physics or science. It is a way of thinking. It's very interesting. Okay, let me start. So let me ask you, which direction is my hand rotating? Clockwise or anti-clockwise?
From my perspective, it's anti-clockwise.
Oh, your perspective is anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
Do you all see anti-clockwise?
Anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise. Oh, so is my shelf on my right side or left side?
From my screen is on the left side.
Same as Marcel.
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah. Because I was like, hey, how come it's anti-clockwise? Because my side is anti-clockwise, what you see is anti-clockwise. Okay, so far so good, right? So now let me ask you, is it possible for you to perceive this as clockwise? Okay, don't say So now I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to open your eyes only when I tell you. Okay, can? If you some of you can choose not to close your eyes, and you can observe what is happening. Okay, can I have one or two acting as the control, so that, okay, let's just say now let me see Danny, Louis, Poland, Mama, May, Billy, Kara, Irene, my sis, Quack, all of you that I mentioned. Now you close your eyes first. The rest remain open. Then after we swap, so that you know. My sis actually knows because she is master of control instrumentation, or at least her course is so those who have your eyes closed, you remain closed until I say so. And when I say so, you just open your eyes enough to see my hand, and then you close back, immediately close. Okay. Those who that means you must open in a flash. Okay. And those who I never mentioned, you have your eyes remain open. Okay. So now I'm going to continue to do what I did. Open. Yeah, but I have to sort of pause so that you can have a snapshot. Okay. Those I mentioned the name. When I say open, you open your eyes and see. Okay. Open. Some of you go into meditation. Okay. So open and then close again. Okay, close. Open. Close. Yeah, open then close already. Don't have to wait for me. Open. Open then close already. Open, close. Open, close. Open, close. Open, close. Open, close. Open, close. Okay, now everybody open your eyes. Those who have been opening and closing your eyes, what do you perceive? Was my hand moving in the anti-clockwise position or in the clockwise position?
Clockwise.
Clockwise, right? So same reality, but because of the perceiver, the rate of sample, so I asked them to open only once in a while. So this is called the sampling rate. Okay, this is called the sampling rate. If the sample rate is not fast enough, you can actually perceive a totally different reality. Yeah, and in this case, it's exactly 180 degrees off sync. Okay, I don't want to explain why is it 180 degrees, but basically it's totally off sync. Yeah, it's half pi off sync. So what does this mean. So Nyquist theorem states that your sample rate must be at least twice of it, twice of the rate of change. So in this case, when I move my hand, right, that means, let's say if I move my hand and it takes 1 second to move my hand, then your eyes must open at least twice in a second to detect the changes. Because it is here only once a second, so it must be open at least twice a second. Yeah. And if you are open twice a second, what you will see is, you will see here, you will see here, you will see here, you will see here, right? And even then, you see, you end up seeing that my hand is like that, So usually they do oversampling. They don't just do the double sampling, they do oversampling. So our CD-ROM, right? CD-ROM is usually our audio CD. Yeah, nowadays nobody listen to audio CD. The audio CD sampling is 44 kilohertz. Yeah, our ear can listen to sound up to usually around 11 kilohertz. So double sampling would be 22 kilohertz. But audio CD do super sampling, like so 44 kilohertz, 4 times the audible range. Yeah. And the reason is because if they just sample at the rate that we can hear, you will hear crackling sound. There will be some artifact, yeah, that appear as crackling sound, or the sound, the frequency will be altered. Yeah. So when I was in Myanmar, and I was like, yeah, quite intensive, mindfulness, observe. Then suddenly I thought, how about Nyquist theorem? Yeah, if in order to observe a change, you must be sampling at a higher rate than what is being observed in order not to observe the wrong thing. So, but that means my mind must be faster than whatever I'm observing. But if my mind is part of the whole world's phenomena, that means my mind is the fastest rate of change. But if my mind is the fastest rate of change, then how can my mind observe itself? because because that which is the observer, in order not to have I can't remember what is the term to talk about the artifact. There's a specific term for the artifact. Let's just call artifact. Artifact means there's an error due to the sampling. So then I thought, we can still say that the mind is faster than what we are observing. But what if you are observing the mind? Yeah, because the four foundation, right? 观身不净，观受是苦，观心无常，观法无我。观心无常 but is using the mind to observe the mind, so if we are using the mind to observe the mind, both should have the same sample rate, that means the rate of change should be the same. Yeah, so if the rate of change is the same, then there will be sampling error. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this maybe this is too much. Yeah. The imperfect, Marcel wrote, the imperfections attributable to the approximation are known as interpolation error. Is this related directly to the sampling Nyquist theorem thing?
Shifu, is Nyquist spelled Nyquist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I paste it, I copy it from Wikipedia. I'm referring to the artifact that Shifu mentioned, is it correct?
Yeah. I guess so. So usually in the in the course, right, whenever we learn about Nyquist theorem, about sampling theory, right, they usually have a sine curve. Yeah. and using the sine curve, and then they highlight that if you sample at a lower rate, you may end up thinking that the the data is always at the high, but actually it goes up and down. And depending on how high your rate of sample is, then it may give you a more a higher fidelity uh, approximation of the actual signal that you are sampling. Now, of course, I'm glad that some of you stay back to listen to this, because oftentimes we hear people say that, oh yeah, this is accounting. I never learned accounting, nothing to do with me. Oh, this is engineering. Oh, too cheap, too cheap. No, this one is physics, this one is chemistry. But this sampling theory, yeah, is a physics theory, right? Is an applied application of science, right? But you think about it, it can be applied to our day-to-day life. It's up to you how you apply. Application is always up to individuals. So in what way? If you let's talk about what we usually like to do. What most people, maybe you all don't like to do. Some people, I don't really enjoy doing, I don't really do this, but some people like to go and catch up on people, right? Go and monitor people. So if you monitor people, but you are monitoring at the wrong rate, then you may get the wrong perception, right? Like, don't you all feel that, how come my boss always come when I finish my work, then I have nothing to do, then I always see that I'm not doing work? Because the sampling rate is too low. If your boss look at you the whole day without you knowing, the boss will say, wow, this person's so hardworking, wow, whole day so busy. It's because my sampling rate is wrong. So similarly, when we look at our kids, oftentimes we feel like, how come our kids are not studying? It's because when we are back, they have finished their study one, so we are not sampling fast, at the correct rate. So do you see why? And it's not just physics can be applied in other areas. Many things can be a cross-disciplinary application. And in the same way, internally, I have actually used a slightly different description before, but it's actually linked to Nyquist theorem. And it's about how if we practice mindfulness, what is the direct advantage? The direct advantage is that if we don't observe our mind, then unwholesome seeds may be planted. And if our sampling period means the duration, that you take before you sample. Sampling rate is 1/t. T is the period, F is frequency, F equals to 1/t. Bonus, give you all physics makeup lesson. So if your period is too far apart, then in meditation class, I will explain and say, it's like you plant a seed, and imagine if you plant a seed and you go and come back to check on it only 10 years later. After 10 years, you see a tree. How come there's a tree already? Whereas if you check on it every week or every day, then you start to see that, the seed slowly rupture and then germinate, and a sapling arise, and slowly, maybe at some point it even almost die, but then after that it strengthened and then branch out and so on and so forth. So you know the whole process. So similarly, if we often hear people say that, I don't know why I get angry, but actually it's because their sampling rate is too low. In fact, they are not even sampling. They are only doing post-mortem. So in computer technology, it's called an interrupt. So there are two ways to receive information from the external world, or to deal with changes in computer world. One is called polling, one is called interrupts. Interrupt is more efficient. So when something specifically happen, then it send a signal, and then the CPU get interrupted, and then hand over control to another program to deal with it. Whereas for polling, there's a certain frequency of polling. So the CPU at that time will go and check, just check. So long time ago, before interrupts were invented, all the interaction is using polling. Then interrupts happen, then it become more efficient. Yeah. So nowadays, all computers, I mean, in fact, in the 80s, computers were all using interrupts. But in our practice, we are trying to move from interrupt to polling. Yeah. Why? Because when it's based on interrupt, what is the interrupt? When the thing blow up already, it's an interrupt. Yeah. So by the time it blow up, we're like, oh yeah, again, no, I don't know what happened. I blew up. But actually, the whole blow up actually started with a seed, started with an imprint, started with an impression. So when we say, like Danny asked earlier, how like moment to moment, he was talking about how it's possible and the implication. But if you can do that, the very important application is you are increasing your sampling rate. You are reducing your sampling period. Yeah. And because if you do that, and you are aware of your state of mind frequently, the moment the mind just veer towards unwholesomeness, veer towards the slightest bit of aversion, you are aware. And at that point, it's like a small sapling. Is it easier to remove a small sapling or to uproot a tree? Of course, a small sapling. And that's why meditation works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, 师傅. Very interesting. 谢谢 for the extra time.
Yeah. So have a Nyquist day ahead.
Yes, really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
interesting.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Very meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you, 师傅.
One more. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you very much, 师傅.
Thank you.